Mr. Perilou.
Here.
Orman Ote, I'm here. Ms. Boudreau.
Here.
And Mr. Lorraine.
Sure.
Also on the line, we do have Parish President Archie Chesson, correct?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, so we have all present. If everyone would please follow me, we'll be led with an invocation by Mr. Perilou, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Lorraine. I'd first like to start off before we have this invocation. I'd like to have a moment of silence for our good friend, colleague, parish employee, state representative, Mr. Reggie Bagala, who passed since our last meeting due to this nasty COVID virus. So if everyone would just please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Perilou, you can lead us in invocation.
Okay, absolutely. At this moment, if everyone please bow your head and recite the Lord's Prayer with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Hold that flag up, Bo.
Mr. Lorraine, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and indivisible.
Okay, very good. Thank y'all for that. So before we get going too far, I do want to just mention we do have a written certification as required by proclamation number JBE 2020-30, which basically set forth the restrictions which could cause us problems to have a quorum, which is why we are doing this video teleconference tonight. We did all the proper advertisements as required to get public input. So I just want everyone to be aware, and both of those notices, certifications were published with the agenda. So we welcome everyone who is joining us, and I want to certainly thank all my council members for participating in the manner that we are participating. With that said, we will move to item A, approval of minutes. I have a motion on the floor by Corey Perilou, seconded by Bo Melvin, to accept the minutes of the March 24th, 2020 regular session. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? No one opposed. The motion passes with a vote of 9-0. Item B, proclamations. Number 2, Parish President Archie Chesson III to present a proclamation proclaiming April 2020 as Fair Housing Month. Mr. Chesson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And normally we would hand these out, but this is just a formality for the grants that we have to read these at the public meeting. So, whereas the 52nd anniversary of National Fair Housing Law, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, during the month of April, is an occasion for all Americans, individually and collectively, to rededicate themselves to the principles of freedom and housing discrimination wherever it exists. And whereas the law guarantees for each citizen the critical personal element to freely choose a home. And whereas fair housing law has been passed by the state of Louisiana, and implementation of the law requires positive commitment, involvement, and support from each of its citizens. And whereas the department and the agencies of the state of Louisiana are to provide leadership in an effort to make fair housing not just an idea, but ideal for all citizens. And whereas barriers that diminish the rights and limit the options of citizens to freely choose a home will ultimately diminish the rights and limit the options of all. Now, therefore, I, Archie Chesson III, Parish President, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2020 as Fair Housing Month, and a witness thereof do hereunto set my signature and have cause to affix the official seal of the Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, on this 28th day of April 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Chesson. Item 3 is also a proclamation. Parish President Archie Chasson III to present a proclamation proclaiming April 13th through the 18th, 2020 as Community Development Block Grant Week. Mr. Chasson, you have the floor.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Again, it's just one of those formalities for the grant purposes. So whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has operated since 1974 to provide local governments with the resources required to primarily meet the needs of low to moderate income persons. And whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program is among the few remaining federal programs available to address the needs of low to moderate income persons in small cities. And whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program has provided the state of Louisiana with important and flexible assistance to meet the needs of low to moderate income residents of small cities by funding sewer, water, and street improvement projects, economic development projects, and other public involvement projects. And whereas Congress and the nation acknowledge the critical value of the Community Development Block Grant Program and the significant projects that rely on its funds and support. And whereas the week of April 13th through the 18th, 2020 have been reserved for recognition and appreciation of the Community Development Block Grant Program. Now, therefore, I, Archie Chasson, Lafourche Parish President, do hereby proclaim the week of April 13th through the 18th as Community Development Week, and witness thereof do hereunto set my signature and have cause to affix the official seal of Parish Lafourche, State of Louisiana, on this 28th day of April, 2020. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chasson. Brings us to item C, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, etc. We did publish asking for allowing public input. I did receive 2 comments. Neither one of them were related to an agenda item, which was the mandate. So I will discuss both of those during the discussion period later in the meeting. With that said, we'll move to item D, public hearings and ordinances for ratification. I have a motion by Corey Parallel, second by Bo Melvin to open public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. We'll move to item 4, ordinance to amend ordinance number 1335, reflecting the new code of ordinances and amending and reenacting chapter 26 offenses and miscellaneous provisions, article 1 in general, section 26-7, changing, obstructing, or closing public roads prohibited as it pertains to adding public passage after obstructing in the title of section 26-7, as well as adding paragraph B to section 26-7 to further enforce changing, obstructing, or closing of public roads prohibited. On motion by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Melvin. Anyone has any discussion on this ordinance? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. There being no discussion, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 5, ordinance approving an act of donation between the Department of Transportation and Development and Lafourche Parish Government for the donation of reclaimed asphalt pavement wrap, state project number H.014068, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said donation and any and all relevant documents. On motion by Mr. Parallel for the administration, on second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion on this ordinance? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. We'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 6, ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Pierre B. Foray Jr. and Lafourche Parish Government and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. On motion by Mr. Melvin for the administration, second by Mr. Parallel. Any discussion? 1 time, discussion 2 times, discussion 3 times. There being no discussion, we'll move this to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 7, ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Lafourche Parish Fire Protection District Number 1, represented by its president, Lester Griffin, and Lafourche Parish Government, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion? One time, discussion two time, discussion three times. There being no discussion, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 8, ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 20-004 within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget and capital budget to deobligate the concrete drain ditch Country Club 14011 and drainage improvement in District 4 15025 projects, and to use that money to fund the project titled Fairway Outfall Ditch Improvements, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. On motion by Councilman Melvin for the administration, second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion?
I have a discussion.
Yes, sir. Mr. Lorraine, you
I'd
have
like
the
to
floor.
ask President Chessel, you're deobligating this concrete drain ditch. So that's not really going to be done, or that was done and there's some money left, or what?
So,
Mr. Chesson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So Councilman Melvin had two separate projects within the capital budget. One was for a concrete ditch, and the other one was for, I think, various drainage projects within District 4. We're taking those two we're de-obligating both of those projects and combining them into a new project. And then after a good conversation with the levy district last week, they are going to commit $100,000 of levy district funds to this project to help pay for it. So on the May 12th agenda, you will see a contract for the engineering as well as a cooperative endeavor between us and the levy district for that commitment of funds.
So that Fairway Outfall ditch, exactly what are we doing there? Is that an open ditch?
It is an open ditch. It's kind of like what we did on Euclid Drive.
Would you consider saying that would be similar to West 107?
This one, this is probably about 4 of West 107's put together, size-wise of ditches. So I think,
Right.
But
I mean,
in theory,
would you consider it being similar?
The problems are similar. Yeah, I would say that.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you very much, and I'm going to vote for it.
Thank you, Mr. Chesson, and thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Is there any further discussion on item 8, the ordinance? One time, two times, three times. We'll move this item to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 9, ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 20-005 within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget and capital budget to set up a project to repair the engine for excavator E-66 in the amount of $20,912 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as per Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. It's moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, can we remove a motion in a second, and we're actually going to pull this one from the agenda. I apologize for that. I couldn't unmute fast enough.
Okay, Mr. Melvin, you remove your second? Mr. Melvin. I'll have to wait for an answer, Orchie. Mr. Melvin, will you remove your second on this item?
Okay.
I think it's going through his earbuds, Nooney.
Okay. No, that's
Can you
good.
hear me
He
now?
has removed his
There we
second.
go.
Okay.
Mr. Wendell, do you remove your motion, Mr. Wendell?
Yes, sir, I remove.
Okay, so with that said, we are, as per the recommendation of the administration, Mr. Wendell, we'll go ahead and remove this ordinance. You go with that, Mr. Wendell?
Yes, sir, I'm fine with it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Item number 10, ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 20-006 within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget to increase the budget for the Bayou Community Foundation 20018 in the amount of $5,000 and increase the budget for the Beyond the Bell program 14000 in the amount of $5,000 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as per Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Moved by Councilman Perilou for the administration, I have a second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion? One time, discussion two times, discussion three times. There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. That's it. We'll move to item 11, ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 20-007 within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget to increase the budget for Lafourche on the Move, LOM06, in the amount of $3,000 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as per Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. It's moved by Councilman Adams for the administration, second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? One time? Any discussion? Two times? Any discussion? Three times? There being no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 12, ordinance approving the holding of an election in Fire Protection District number 8-C of the Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, to authorize a levy of a parcel fee therein. Moved by Councilman Adams for the administration, second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? One time? Any discussion? Two? Any discussion? Three times? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Okay, on a motion by Councilman Melvin, second by Councilman Perilou, we'll close this public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Okay, item E, proposed ordinances. Number 13, proposed ordinance to install 20 miles per hour speed limit signs on East Camellia Drive as follows. On East Camellia Drive from Talbot Avenue, Highway 3107, install a 20 miles per hour speed limit sign, 250 feet from intersection. On East Camellia Drive from Parish Road, install a 20 miles per hour speed limit sign, 250 feet from the intersection, and along East Camellia Drive, install 20 miles per hour speed limit signs, 750 feet between speed limit signs in both directions. Thibodeau, Louisiana, Ward 1, District 3, Special Lafourche, State of Louisiana, provide for the placement of speed limit signs as designated within this ordinance and providing penalties for the violations thereof by Councilman Grove. Item 14, proposed ordinance requiring the administration to send a monthly report to council members to inform them of new business license requests in their respective districts. Moved by Councilman Perilou. Item 15, proposed ordinance requesting no dumping, $500 fine signs be posted next to the DeGraville ditch on Parish Road, Thibodeau, Louisiana, Ward 1, District 3, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary no dumping $500 fine signs and providing penalties for the violations thereof by Councilman Grove. Item 16, proposed ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 20-008 within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget to cover the cost of the consultant recommended by the Community Action Advisory Board and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Councilman Jones for the administration. Item 17, proposed ordinance approving a residential property lease agreement between Lafourche Parish government and Billy A. Taylor for property acquired through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and authorize the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said lease agreement and any and all relevant documents. This will be by Councilman Melvin for the administration. Item 18, proposed ordinance approving a franchise agreement between Lafourche Parish government and South Coast Gas Company Incorporated, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. This will be by Councilman Wendell for the administration. Item 19, proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 6248 and amending the qualified Go Mesa projects list and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Grove for the administration. And that ends proposed ordinances. We'll now go into item F, resolutions. Number 20, resolution requesting the administration to combine LAHEAT, CSBG, CACFP, TANF, weatherization, and the commodities programs under the Department of Community Action. Moved by Councilman Jones, second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 21, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Department of Transportation Development and Lafourche Parish Government for the donation of reclaimed asphalt pavement wrap, state project number H.014068, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Pearl for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? No discussion. We'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 22, resolution accepting the low bid of A&G Refrigeration Incorporated in the amount of $42,050 for the South Lafourche Library HVAC modification project and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration, second by Councilman Pearl. Any discussion? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 23, resolution accepting the low quote of Andrew Baudouin, building contractor, in the amount of $5,000 for contractor services related to nuisance abatement ordinance number 3895 concerning the demolition of condemned structures located at 189 West 75th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana 70345, assessment number 0101785500, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Boudreaux for the administration, second by Councilman Pearl. Any discussion? Item 22. Any discussion?
23.
I'm sorry, item 23.
23.
Yes, resolution 23. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 24, resolution accepting the low quote of Andrew Baudouin, building contractor, in the amount of $4,000 for contractor services related to nuisance abatement ordinance number 3895 concerning the demolition of condemned structure located at 162 East 102nd Street, Cutoff, Louisiana 70345, assessment number 0102304550, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Boudreaux for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? Item 24. There being no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 25, resolution accepting the low quote of Andrew Baudouin, building contractor, in the amount of $4,500 for contractor services related to nuisance abatement ordinance number 3895 concerning the demolition of condemned structure located at 100 Azaline Street, Gray, Louisiana 70359. Assessment number 0110675300, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? Any discussion on item 25? There being no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 26, resolution accepting the low quote of Andrew Baudouin, building contractor, in the amount of $4,000 for contractor services related to nuisance abatement ordinance number 3895 concerning the demolition of condemned structure located at 283 Louise Lane, Houma, Louisiana 70364. Assessment number 0110751440, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. This is moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? Item 26, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got
283 Louise Lane, Homer, Louisiana, 70364. That in Terrebonne or Lafourche?
That is in Lafourche Parish.
All right.
It's in Lafourche. Thank you, Mr. Wendell, for that information. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. And just for minutes, that was Mr. Jones that inquired as to the location, and Mr. Wendell gave the response. Item 27, resolution accepting the low quote of Andrew Baudouin, building contractor, in the amount of $4,500 for contractor services related to nuisance abatement, ordinance number 3895, concerning the demolition of condemned structure located at 162 Lade Lane, La Rose, Louisiana, 70373, assessment number 00416149000, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and contract and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Perillo will move for me on behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 27? There being no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 28, resolution approving an agreement between Capital Area Finance Authority and Lafourche Parish Government, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. This will be by Mr. Grove for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion? Item 28. There being no discussion, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 29, resolution approving the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire as part of the legislative auditor's requirement for completion of audit, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said questionnaire and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Perillo will move on my behalf for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Do we have any discussion on item 29? Any discussion on item 29? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 30, resolution changing the scope of work and project name for project number 18018, and authorizing the parish president to sign and administer any and all relevant documents. So we move by Mr. Perillo for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion? Item 30. Any discussion? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 31, resolution amending resolution number 20-056, which approved amendment number 2 to the agreement between the Louisiana Workforce Commission, Office of Workforce Development, and Lafourche Parish Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action for the Community Services Block Grant, fiscal year 2019 funds, 10/1 of 2018 to 9/30 of 2020, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones to the administration, second by Mr. Perillo. Any discussion? Item 31, any discussion? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? I'm sorry. Was that feedback I just got? We good? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Yeah, we're getting feedback. Somebody's either not on mute. Okay. Let's see. I'm on item 32, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
I got that feedback, kind of threw me off. Okay, item 32. Resolution amending resolution number 19-225 that accepted the bids for miscellaneous materials for the time period of September 1st, 2019 through August 31st, 2020, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Perillo for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 32? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 33, resolution is supporting the Go Mesa initiative by CPRA and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Boudreaux for the administration, second by Mr. Parallel. Any discussion on item 33? Any discussion? Item 33? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 34, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and GIS Engineering LLC for the project titled Drainage Improvements along West 55th Street and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilwoman Boudreaux for administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion on
I
item
got a
34?
discussion on that one.
Yes, sir.
I just want to let y'all know that this project has been in the motion for 5 years. It's a very well needed project. And Archie Chasson, the president of today, was the administrator when this took off with Charlotte. Probably happened right about 6 months before her term expired and she didn't win again. And Drainage District has been tossing this thing around. We do have $50,000 locked in for this project. And 4 years of promises from Jimmy Cantrell in which we didn't get anything. They worked on it, but it never got done. So hopefully it'll get done because there's some people that have been waiting for this project a long time. And it's been in the making for 5 years, believe it or not. That goes to show you how long it takes to get some of these things done.
Very
and
good.
It's a well-worked project. Okay?
Thank you. Those comments were by Councilman Lorraine. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you, Mr. Lorraine. I didn't state your name, but thank you for that information. Any further discussion on item 34? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 35, resolution appointing one member on the Head Start Policy Council as a liaison between the Policy Council and Lafourche Parish Council. This will be Mr. Melvin for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Melvin?
Well, I'm thinking of doing this for administration as well. It's Delane Boudreaux.
Ms. Delynn Boudreaux. And I have a second by Mr. Parallel. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. I didn't hear Ms. Delynn decline accepting it, so I guess she has it. Congratulations, Ms. Delynn. Item 36, resolution requesting Lafourche Parish Council to review and approve the selection criteria for Lafourche Parish Head Start children for the 2020 to 2021 school year per Head Start Performance Standard number 1302.4 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. This will be moved by Councilman Melvin for the administration, second by Mr. Parallel. Any discussion? Item 36, any discussion? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 37, resolution approving a contract between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Parish School Board for the use of Galliano Elementary School and Golden Meadow Middle School for Lafourche Parish Recreation Summer Programs and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. This will be moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 37?
Yeah, Noonie.
Who's speaking?
This is Daniel.
Okay, Daniel, you have the floor.
Yeah, the only thing, I'm just asking your opinion. I guess we should approve it, but what happens if the school, I was told the school wasn't going to let anything happen on the grounds, not depending on this monster virus, I guess.
Yeah, Mr. Shessel, do you
I
want
guess it would hurt.
Yeah,
I
I
don't guess
agree
it would hurt if we approve it, right?
I agree
But
with
what
you,
happens
Dan.
if they don't let us use it? Because of the virus. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I would imagine we'd have to work on contingency plans, but certainly this is possible by the end of the summer that something could be taking place. And I think this goes until next year. So it has until the end of the year. Mr. Shesto, do you want to chime in?
Yeah. So, I mean, as you guys probably saw today, the city of Thibodeau canceled their summer rec programs because of COVID. I talked to a few people in the rec community today. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do yet. I think that depends on what happens with the governor's order and when we get into phase 1 and phase 2. So my recommendation would be let's just approve the agreements. If we get to the point where we can have a summer rec program, even if it is later on in the summer, it may not start exactly when we would traditionally do it, but at least we're going to have the facilities to do it. And that would be pending the school board's approval to actually let us on the grounds and use the classrooms as we typically do.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you, Mr. Shesto. Okay, any further discussion on item 37? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 38, resolution approving a contract between Lafourche Parish government and the Lafourche Parish School Board for the use of Chack Bay Elementary School for Lafourche Parish recreation summer programs and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Adams for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? Item 38. There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 39, resolution approving amendment number 2 to the contract between Lafourche Parish government and Widow O'Brien's LLC for contracted services relative to monitoring of disaster-generated debris removal, management, and technical assistance, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion on item 39? Any discussion? Item 39. There being no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 40, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement to each participating senior citizen center for the purpose of Lafourche on the Move program and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreements and any all relevant documents. Mr. Perillo will move on my behalf of the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? Any discussion on item 40? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 41, resolution approving change order number 5 from Huey Stockstill LLC for the project titled Road Improvements, Road Sales Tax District Number 2, Phase 4L, Phase 2 to decrease the contract price by $434,099.60 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any and all relevant documents. This will be moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 41?
Yeah, Noonan.
Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, what happened here was I had 2 streets in my district that were not done due to complications, and I put 2 other streets. But what happened on the 2 other streets, the one West 125 couldn't get done because of a water line relocation, so we didn't do that. And on West 131, all we did was a patch instead of the street. So that's why you're getting that much money back. It's not that they're giving you that much money, it's because a couple of streets wasn't really done.
Copy that. That was my understanding. I do remember that discussion. So thank you for that information, Mr. Lorraine. Any further discussion on item 41? It's nice to see.
You can always use that. You can always use that money in District 1.
Right. Can we move that 434,000? That's going to go back in that fund, same fund, right?
Road sales tax
Exactly.
district 2. Yep. So that inquiry was by Mr. Groh asking where it was going back, and Mr. Lorraine responded yes. Road sales tax district 2. Any further discussion on item 41? There being none, we'll move that to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 42, resolution approving amendment number 2 to the contract between Lafourche Parish Government and Tetra Tech Incorporated for contracted services relative to monitoring of disaster-generated debris removal, management, and technical assistance, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. This will be moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion on item 42? There being none, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 43, resolution approving amendment number 2 to the contract between Lafourche Parish Government and DRC Emergency Services LLC for contracted services relative to disaster debris removal and recovery services, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion on item 43? Any discussion? Item 43.
Does that, Mr. President, does that go out to bid? I noticed that company's out of Metairie.
So Mr. Gruel's inquiry is if that went out to bid. Mr. Chesson, you want to answer that?
So this is the last year of the extensions on the existing contract. So next year it'll be rebid.
Good enough. Any further discussion on item 43? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 44, resolution approving amendment number 3 to the contract between Lafourche Parish Government and Ceres Environmental Services Incorporated for contractor services relative to disaster debris removal and recovery services, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 44? Any discussion? Item 44. There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 45, resolution approving application revision number 1 in the amount of $154,781 for the purpose of a cost of living adjustment for all Head Start staff, and authorizing the parish president and council chairman to sign, execute, and administer said revision and any and all relevant documents. This will be moved by Councilman Perilou for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 45? Any discussion? Item 45. There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 46, resolution amending resolution number 20-057 that accepted the low quote of MPM Diesel Service Incorporated in the amount of $20,912 to repair excavator E-66 at the Lockport Field Office, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Perilou for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 46? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 47, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Gosson Holloway Cortez for engineering services for the project titled Rodeo Concession Facility, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Perilou for administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 47? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 48, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and the Bayou Civic Club to reimburse funding for improvements in recreation, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Boudreaux for the administration, second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion on item 48? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 49, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Lafourche Parish government and the Bayou Civic Club to reimburse funding for facility and ballpark maintenance and repairs, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Boudreaux for the administration, second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion on item 49? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 50, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Lafourche Parish government and the Cutoff Youth Center to reimburse funding for maintenance and repairs, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Perilou will move on my behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 50? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And I believe, Ms. Boudreaux, correct me if I'm wrong, you'll be abstaining on this one?
It's better.
Ms. Boudreaux? Delenn, on item
I am
number.
abstaining from, yes, I'm abstaining from that vote. Sorry.
Okay,
Forgot to
no,
turn my
very
mic
good.
on.
No, very good. We got it. Thank you.
Okay.
So item number 50 passes by a vote of 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstention. That abstention being Councilwoman Delenn Boudreaux. Item 51, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the cooperative endeavor agreement between the Lafourche Parish government and the Cutoff Youth Center to increase the reimbursement funding by $45,000 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Councilman Perilou will move on my behalf for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? No discussion on 51. We'll move it to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
I abstain.
Motion passes with a vote of 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstention. That abstention being Councilwoman Delenn Boudreaux. Item 52, resolution
Thank you.
appointing one member to the South Lafourche Beachfront Development District Board representing the town of Golden Meadow. Mr. Lorraine for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Lorraine?
Kevin Sherry.
Mr. Sheremy, and I got a second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 53, resolution approving amendment number 4 to the agreement between the Lafourche Parish government and Duplantis Design Group PC for engineering design services for the Lockport Community Center, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Perilou will move on my behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 53? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 54, resolution approving an agreement between the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, GOSEP, and Lafourche Parish government relating to public assistance funding for Louisiana COVID-19 disaster declaration, FEMA-DR-4484-LA, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Perilou will move on my behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 54? There being no discussion on 54, we move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 55, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between Lafourche Parish government and All South Consulting Engineers, LLC, adding an additional $25,000 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. To be moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion on item 55? There being no discussion, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 9-0. Item 56, resolution approving the trade-in of one 2015 Chevy Impala, one 2004 Ford F-250, and one 2007 Chrysler Sebring, and authorizing a lease purchase of one 2020 Chevy Suburban, two 2020 Chevrolet Tahoes, and one 2020 Chevy Silverado from Golden Motors in the total amount of $165,619.90, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. Someone want to move for me on behalf of the administration?
Move.
I move.
Who said they moved? Mr. Grove? Mr. Grove moves
Jones.
on behalf of the administration, and the second was by whom?
Jones.
By Councilman Jones. Is that correct, Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Grove for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. I apologize for that. Discussion, item 56.
Yes.
Okay, who identify yourself? Mr. Parallel.
Yes. I kind of take exception to this request. Not long ago, we were asked as a council to approve a professor, I think from LSU or somewhere, to help us look at the tax system so we can lessen the burden on the citizens. And we approved that, to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. So on this item 56, states the parish wants to purchase a Suburban, two Tahoes, and an F-250, I believe, to replace a Chrysler Sebring, a Chevy Impala, and an old 250. I don't see the value to the taxpayers in such drastic upgrades in these vehicles. We're basically, turning in Volkswagen Bugs for Cadillacs in this scenario. And I understand the fact that, certain equipment has to be hauled around in vehicles periodically. And I think, a wise move would be to maybe enlist the help of cargo trailers or something like that when that need arises. So as a steward of the taxpayer dollars, I think this is a wasteful expenditure. Not wasteful from the point that, we don't need vehicles, but wasteful from the point that we don't need Suburbans and Tahoes to be fleet vehicles for the parish. So with that being said, I'm going to vote no on this until maybe we can come back with some more reasonable models of vehicles for to accomplish the parish mission.
Thank you, Mr. Parallel.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Shessel, you have the floor.
So I took the core and I fired off a quick email this afternoon, but before the conference call, and I get the optics of it where Corey is coming from. And regardless of whether we went with, a standard state contract vehicle or this from Golden, we're probably going to end up in the same realm of money, whether we do 250s with, F-150s with cargo trailers, or we do, and look, a Suburban and a Tahoe on paper, I get it. The optics of it are bad, especially with COVID. What I will say is that this is CRI grant money through, and these vehicles are for emergency preparedness, and the parish administrator. So, they're being paid for with federal grant dollars. So it's not like, and again, I get it, it's tax dollars, regardless of whether it's state, federal, or local. But it's not like we're using, royalty money or local sales tax money or local ad valorem tax money. Or, whether we use this to buy a new cargo trailer for OEP or we use it to buy a vehicle for OEP, we're still going to end up in the same boat. We did the lease purchase for a couple of reasons. One, because we can go local. It's hard sometimes with certain vehicles to use a local dealership. Normally, if you use a state contract, the dealers are out of Alexandria or somewhere else. So we wanted to buy local. We wanted to use Golden. So that's why we did the lease. Second of all, we're going to do this over a couple of years with some continuing grant dollars. So we did the lease instead of an outright $165,000 purchase. So this is going to be a multi-year deal and using those federal grant dollars over the multi-year deal. So this was something that was in last year's budget that Chris had in his OEP budget to spend. They just didn't move on it with the last administration for a couple of reasons that I think everybody might realize. So when we came in, he asked us to move on it. We did our homework. This would have come up, COVID or not. It was something that got bumped a couple of meetings because we were dealing with the virus. And it whether we put it on this agenda or we waited another month, it was just something we wanted to move on. So ultimately, it's up to you guys. I'm the carrier for Chris and Eric trying to fulfill a request from the employees. So up to you guys at the end of the day. But that's the reason why I think in the email I spelled out why the different vehicles. We have a couple of big trailers that we use the Chevy Silverado to pull. The F-250 that we're trading in is a 2004 model. It's got some bad rear axles and some real seals. Would probably cost us somewhere between $4,000 and $6,000 to fix if we brought it to a local mechanic shop. That was the reason behind trading those in. So that's why.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chestnut. Who's Mr. Groh?
Yeah, and Archie, thank you for sending the email to us before the meeting. I had a chance to review it. I had two questions, though. Is there an expiration of this grant to where we have to spend the money? I know in years past we have missed the boat on getting some of these vehicles.
There's no expiration for this particular grant. We get a standard amount of money every year. So we use part of it. We're going to use part of the money for the next several years to pay for the vehicles and do some other hazmat items. We got to replace some hazmat suits in the next year or two. We got to buy some new air tanks in the next couple of years. So that whatever overage we get on that grant is going to go toward the hazmat and some emergency preparedness supplies.
And the second question I had, I mean, and I know the ball was rolling on this, as you mentioned, before COVID, but since COVID, I know the rates have come down big time. And, the thing that stuck out for me the most, more than and what we were getting, was the 5.33% interest rate right now. That's high.
And I mentioned that in the email. That was something I couldn't get a quick answer on from GM. My guess is that it's because it's a municipal lease and not a standard consumer lease. That's why it's a little bit higher. But we're going to work on that tomorrow with Golden and see if we can pare that down. And whether we have to bring it back at that point, if it actually gets approved tonight, we can with a different interest rate, or I could just let you guys know. But we're going to try to work on that and figure out why it's at 5.3%. But again, my guess is because it's a municipal lease and not a standard consumer rate.
And I know a lot of us have gotten calls from different employees, kind of questions. I don't know if it's because it's not a time sensitive issue, if there's a way that you can maybe defer it to the next meeting, give us time to maybe talk to Chris, talk to those guys, talk to you to see more in depth instead of an email, because you said you got some calls today too, just to give us a little more time to talk about it, to dig into why those vehicles, and also if it's cheaper to buy it outright versus go through the program. It's just a thought, And
I will tell you that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I can't get behind it just based on the rate. I'd hate to dial into something and get stuck with 5.33 when you can get stuff next to nothing right now.
And I can't tell you, since probably about the third or fourth week of, maybe the first week of February, right before all this started, Mitch and I have been working on, because we do know we have an aging fleet across Public Works and across some of the other pool vehicles we have. So we were dead in the middle of some talks with Enterprise to do a big parish-wide leasing program where we would actually trade in about 30 vehicles and do, most of those are going to be Fords because they have a higher resale value according to Enterprise. And when you do those multi-year lease deals with Enterprise, as you've seen the sheriff, the city of Thibodaux, some of the other municipalities do, you flip the vehicles every 3 or 4 years and you get the resale back, and that's how you continue to pay the lease. So we are working, if you did get some calls from employees, and we've met with most of the managers, the field office supervisors, to get a feel for what they would need or want on vehicles. So we are working on that too. Just because of the grant money, we were able to pull the trigger on these faster than we were trying to figure out how we pay for a 30, 40, 50 vehicle lease, especially now. We're still thinking about doing it, but it may be more of a 20 or a 25 vehicle lease versus the big package we thought we were going to do with Enterprise. But we are working on a parish-wide system to change out, the aging fleet in DPW. We got real good at buying those old wildlife and fishery trucks. You see a lot of the guys driving around those big jacked up black ones. Those typically come from state surplus. We pick them up for cheap. We put a couple thousand into them, and they're good for guys using them to get back and forth to the machines in the field and stuff like that. So they're rugged and they're durable. But we know even those in the next year or so are going to start to give us problems. So we are working on a big parish-wide system to flip some of these vehicles.
Thank you, Mr. Chesson. Mr. Grew, you have any follow-up? I still have everyone here?
No, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else wants to give some discussion?
Hey, I'd like to just say something real quick.
Mr. Lorraine.
Yes. First of all, it's just a formality, and I'm glad I heard he said it was a grant, because if he's looking for road royalty and he's looking for sales taxes, I don't think he's gonna find too many in the condition that everything's heading in. So I think, I don't see anything wrong with this. I don't think it should be delayed. We should just roll with it and get it done and move on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Any other discussions?
Nooney, this is Bo.
Mr.
As per
Melvin.
the Department of Ethics, I'm gonna have to abstain due to a previous relationship, but
Okay,
just wanted to make sure before we vote.
very good. If no one else has any discussion, I'll just comment. Unfortunately, I'm in the presence of the parish president somewhat regularly. We talk daily, and unfortunately, I have not been able to properly vet or discuss this topic with him. He reached out to me this evening, and I simply couldn't catch the call. So I apologize to him. I'm kind of like Mike Grew. I kind of would like to, of course, the emergency preparedness group are near and dear to me as a fire chief, but I have some reservations about the percentage. I think in my opinion, we could do a little better. I also don't like the fact that, if I understand it correctly, we would roll over into the next administration's grant money would have to be utilized on that fourth year. So there's some things that I really want to discuss, and so I'll probably pass on this one. However, I am absolutely open to discussing it further if it happens to fail. So that's my opinion. Do we have any further discussion on item 56 before we move it to vote? And I'm going to do a roll call vote since we do have a few
Chairman.
individuals. Someone else
Chairman
wants to,
O'Donnell.
who's speaking?
Jim Wendell.
Hey, Mr. Wendell, go ahead, partner.
I'd like to let Archie know and the rest of the council members as well. I got several phone calls today from some employees and also some people from the community who saw this on Facebook. I believe there needs to be a little bit more discussion or a little bit more transparency about it because there are a few people who have the wrong idea, spending the money, and the comments made of they never lost any of their money and we have businesses going without. I do work for other parish organizations outside of Lafourche. The sheriff's office, as Archie said, that leases cars. Also different things that are going on with, needing a certain piece of equipment, needing to pull a trailer. You require a certain size vehicle or a specialty type vehicle to carry certain things. It goes along with fire chiefs and, equipment and stuff you need to carry. So if this doesn't pass tonight, I would like to get the word out a little bit better about it in the future, as well as, if it comes up on the next meeting, if it should not pass tonight, I'll be more than happy to sponsor this once we can get a little bit more information out on it and get people with a better feeling about it, make it look like it's not something last minute that's, I understand it's been pushed a couple of meetings, but I still think there needs to be some discussion about it as well.
Very good. And once again, I do want to accept some of that blame because I was actually sponsored and I didn't properly vet it, just sidetracked with COVID. So I do apologize. Anyone else wants to discuss this before we move it to roll call vote? Okay, there being no further discussion, we'll move it to a vote. Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Grove.
Nay.
Mr. Melvin,
Abstain.
abstains. Mr. Wendell.
Nay.
Mr. Perilou.
A big nay.
And myself, I'm going to pass with a nay, although once again, I'm open to the continuous discussion. Ms. Boudreau.
I'm going to say no for now.
Mr. Lorraine.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion fails with 3 yeas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nays, and 1 abstention. The 3 yeas being Mr. Jones, Mr. Adams, Mr. Lorraine. The 5 nays being Mr. Grove, Mr. Wendell, Mr. Perilou, myself, Chairman Otan, and Ms. Boudreau, and then 1 abstention being Mr. Melvin. Okay, it brings us to item 57. Resolution approving the parish president's appointment of Christy Lumpkin for the position of Director of Grants and Economic Development for Lafourche Parish Government and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. So be moved by Mr. Wendell for the administration, second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion? Mr. Chesson, do you want to give a brief comment on Ms. Lumpkin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I believe if you guys have any questions for her, I think she's on the phone. We sent her the link, so she's listening to us, and she should be able to speak if you guys have any questions for her. But if you remember right, this first or second meeting in January, we hired the Next Move group out of New Orleans to help us with the search. There were about 35 total applicants for the position. Through their process, they whittled them down to 12. Those 12 applicants, they did some short interview, 3 or 4 pointed questions, and filmed them, sent them to me. We took the 12 and narrowed it down to 5. And then we used a small search committee of Vic Lafon over at Select, myself, the parish administrator, Mitch Ogeron, Chet Chasson from the Port, Tammy Leday from the Thibodeau Chamber, Cody Leday, who's the owner of White Car Marketing out of Thibodeau, Ms. Deanna Lafon, who's the past chairman of the Lafourche Chamber of Commerce, Savanye, who's our HR director, and Ms. Marguerite Knight, who is the past chairwoman of the Thibodeau Chamber of Commerce. We did the 5 interviews through Zoom, I guess a couple of weeks ago now, and overwhelmingly, Ms. Lumpkin was the choice. She comes with a vast experience of not only working in Ruston the last 10 years, but also has experience in creating economic development districts, tax incentive programs, and kind of all the things we've talked about over the last couple of years, inside and outside of the campaign, things the chambers have fought for. She has a true record of bringing new businesses and sustaining the existing businesses that she's worked with in the different areas she's worked. So I would, as with the other nominees that we've put forth to you guys, I would ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Chesson. Anyone have any discussion?
I would just like to say,
Mr. Parallel.
continue supporting President Chasson's nominees. I think he's hit it out of the park so far. I don't doubt that this one won't be a home run as well. So I'm in support.
Thank you, Mr. Parallel. Any further discussion? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item G, Parish President, Department Heads, Directors, or Manager reports, presentations, and/or updates. Item 58, Monthly Financial Report as required by the stated agreed upon procedures for March 2020. All of you should have received an email from the administration. And my understanding is Mr. Chesson does have most of the department heads on this line. Does anyone have any questions of the department heads?
And I mean,
Okay.
if I can real quick, Nooney, I
Go
know
ahead,
that,
Mr. Chesson.
that Bo maybe had a question about COVID, so I'll give you guys a quick update.
Thank you.
As most of you are aware, the governor's stay-at-home order was extended through the 15th, which I believe most of us probably don't agree with, including myself. It's time to get things back up and running. So in consultation with the DA's office today, we worked in the gray areas of what's outside of his, what's not strictly prohibited in his executive order, and then what's deemed not essential. And we allowed as many businesses as we could to open up. So when we talk about photographers, shooting ranges, bakeries, lawn and garden centers, retailers, everything that was kind of in that gray area, we're going to say go back to work. I think that's the best thing we can do. We're going to ask that if you have any public facing employees for those businesses that they wear masks. We're not going to mandate that people wear masks when they go out, simply because if we mandate it, we have to be able to supply it. And we just don't have the supply of masks to be able to give out. As you guys saw over the weekend, and again, huge thank you to Chairman Otan, the rest of the fire chiefs, and the volunteer fire departments across the parish for helping hand out those 40,000 masks throughout the parish on Saturday. I think it went great. A few hiccups here and there with traffic flow, but I think everybody was able to get some masks. We did get some word today. I think we're going to get another allotment. I'm not sure how much yet, but if we do, then we'll either work with you 9 councilmen, they'll just pass them out to you guys so you can hand them out within your communities, depending on how many we get, or we'll work again with the fire departments to be able to do that. I did have a meeting this afternoon with Councilman Jones and Ms. Diorn from Community Action. Because some of the utilities have stopped cutting people off, we're not expending those funds as fast as we can, or we normally would. So we have about $87,000 left in FY19 funds. So what we're going to do is use that $87,000 to purchase some hand sanitizer and some disinfectant wipes for the community. And we're going to work on kind of typically how we would with commodities, and work on some distribution sites in the 3 points of the parish to be to hand out to help out people who otherwise might not be able to get their hands on that. So we did open up those businesses today, and I did give a breakdown. I know if I know Nooney was on the call this afternoon with the first responder group. We've been fighting with the state for the last 3 or 4 weeks about the actual numbers, and we know those numbers are somewhat wrong. So what I did today for everybody was actually broke down the numbers. So when you look at the state's count, today we're at 639. I think we went up 3, so we're at 642 or something like that. When you subtract out the number of people who are wrong on our list that are living in another parish, we get into the 500s. When you subtract out the number of deaths that we've had, unfortunately, those 39 people, and then when you subtract out the people who have recovered, so people who are over that 21-day mark that the governor says are now presumed recovered, we have about 242 actual current positive cases in the parish, which hopefully will ease some people's minds when we talk about going back out. Although we're asking you to wear a mask and still do all the fun stuff we've been preaching about, social distancing and hand sanitizing and that sort of stuff, the numbers in actuality are a lot better than what people would see if they just went on DHH's website. So we're making some strides. I think we're over the hump of that curve, and we've truly flattened it. Our growth rate as a region the last week and a half has been steady at 1%. So which is it's truly good when you look at the 6 parishes in our GoStep region. So that's where we're at as of tonight.
Very good. Thank you for that information, Archie. Is that Mr. Melvin?
Yes, sir. Now I appreciate that, Archie. Really do. It's a great update. I think it's a common sense move. I know that this is for instance, I'm a big hand sanitizer person because I know that, for instance, pink eye is spread by touching your eyes. So hand sanitizer, you're not going to wear a mask over your eyes, I can tell you that, unless you got safety goggles. So use it sparingly, but hand sanitizer goes a long way towards keeping us safe. And also, I really appreciate it. When can I follow up? Because I've had some calls from a clay shooting place in Bayou Blue. When can I give them a call? When is that going to open up? When is
May
that?
1st.
When are you saying that's open?
So
May
we told everybody May 1st, and I did get a call from, I think it was the shooting range in Thibodeau. It may have been the one in Bayou Blue. Somebody reached out through Facebook this afternoon. And while the executive order from us says May 1st, if they open tomorrow, I don't think anybody's going to go shut them down because they're one of those gray area businesses. But most definitely come Saturday, they can open up their doors.
Right. And real quick, I'm considering this came on us pretty fast. I think overall we've kind of done the best we could to try and keep people safe, and that we know that there is a segment of the population who really have a problem with if they get COVID. So it's a very serious thing. We're all aware of that. I know that some of these folks definitely should shelter in place as per their doctor's orders, I'm sure. And I just, that being said, and now that we have some realistic numbers, I just want to say verbally that I am against the governor keeping the state closed as well, as are a lot of people on Facebook and people you come in contact with for business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Anyone else have anything for the department heads, directors?
I do, real quick.
Mr. Grove, you have the floor.
Okay, I wanted to just first off thank the administration for the overlay of East and West Camellia in that area. The residents are very pleased. It was something they've been waiting for since Abby was done and before that. So very thankful for that, and glad to see there was some money left over to spread in some other areas. So I think it helped out 3 different council members that had overlays in that one project. You mentioned the city of Thibodeau canceling the camps. I know that was on our call today, the governmental call. I asked if we approve those sites today, just reach out to the people that are running those camps and make sure they're very with us. Saw that most of them start like in June, but people are looking to get their kids out the house and bring them to camp. And if that's not going to happen, they need to make some arrangements. So please be very transparent as you can with that. In terms of social media, we're doing a lot of good jobs. Y'all doing a good job of pushing that stuff out. So continue that, especially in the recreation departments. Some baseball teams, I know, in talking with people in Raceland, like 2 weeks under their belt before they got called off. People are going to start asking questions about when that's kicking back up, or if it will be able to. So as soon as we know something, if we can do that. And then lastly, we approved a lot of money for blighted properties tonight. Can you give a brief explanation for the people watching? What happens with this? Why do unfortunately we got to spend $4,000 or $5,000 to pull these houses down, and what happens to the property after? Because it's a lot of our budget that goes to that every year. and it's unfortunate, but I mean, it needs to be done. But if you could just give a brief explanation of that, people can understand. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so it all kind of starts with a complaint, as most people know. They submit it to us. There is probably at least a month and a half to 2 month process that we go through, trying to notify the landowners or the property owners through certified mail. Most of the time, we're using the assessor's office and the tax records to do that. In some cases, either it's an open succession property where there's so many different owners, nobody takes responsibility to it. So eventually, we get to the point where if nobody takes responsibility for it, and it's deemed a safety hazard, or it's a property that we condemn, we go in there and we clean it up or tear it down. And then after that, we either work with the property owner to sign over a promissory note, and they agree to pay us back. We do try to invoice them in a one lump sum at some point too, and see if they'll pay it. And if they don't pay it, then we begin the lien process, where we put a lien on the property and eventually recoup our money, either through a tax roll or a sheriff's office sale somewhere down the line.
Mr. Chesson, there is a dedicated funding source, correct?
Yeah. So if you guys, it's called Special Service District Number 1 in your budget. It's an ad valorem tax that 60% of it off the top goes to cover street lighting, and the other 40% of that millage actually goes to nuisance abatement, tall grass, things like that. So we do have a dedicated source and we do recoup some. And I can, if you guys want to, I'll have Wendy pull those numbers, and we can give you from solid waste an updated report as to what we've spent versus what we've collected. And of course, we're going to spend more than we've recollected. But we can give you guys the actual numbers if you want to see them.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chesson. Anyone else has anything for the parish president, department heads?
Mr. Chair.
Cooney.
I have a question.
Ms. Deland, you have the floor.
Yeah, Mr. Chesson, when will they start doing commodities? Any idea on that one? I'm getting questions about commodities.
Yeah, I'm hoping that once we get through May 15th, if we get into that phase 1, we're going to try to work with the National Guard that we have left. Or hopefully by that point, we can get trustees out the jail again. And we're going to do some modified commodities where, we just we let them sign up, and kind of like you saw with the second Harvest Food Bank ones that we've done the last few weeks, it'll just be a quick drive through. So I'm shooting for either the end of May, beginning of June.
Okay. And it'll be announced, of course.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
You have the floor, Mr. Jones.
It wasn't me.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well, look, I tell you what, I'm going to go to item H, discussions, and I'm going to call each individual council member, one, to ensure that they're still on this line, and secondly, to give them an opportunity to discuss anything they may deem necessary before we end this meeting. With that said, Mr. Jones, you have anything in discussion?
I just want to touch base with Archie and them that the 3 roads in District 1 with the extra money from the road project going to be dead.
Very good. Any comments on that, Mr. Chesson?
No, sir. I'm good.
Thank you.
Great work by Dylan and the Public Works crew getting that project out and running. So
very good.
Okay.
Mr.
Good.
Adams.
Nah, I really don't have much to say, but again, if you look at the numbers and you take the percentage, we have 97,000 people sum it up around in our parish, and you take the percentage of the people that actually have caught it, it's like 0.006. So I mean, the stay-at-home order worked, but then you can see that as not many compared. I mean, it's all in how you interpret it, but I think it worked because of the low percentage of how many people actually caught it.
Good comment. Okay. Mr. Grove.
Nothing. Thank you.
Vice Chair, Mr. Melvin.
I'm good. Thank you all. Be safe. And I can't wait till we can meet in person again in the big room.
Very good. Mr. Wendell.
Yes, I just want to direct this towards Archie, Dylan, the Public Works crew, the Bayou Blue barn folks. I've had a few emergencies, some culverts collapsing in streets that I've called after hours. I've had a great response from these guys in getting out, getting barricades set up, the work starting the very next morning to get these emergency repairs done. I've been able to go out a lot more in the field as of recent on some servitude issues. with Vaughn, the guys at the barn, and just can't say enough about them. It's very, very heartwarming to see some of the things that are going on in areas that it didn't happen before. Once again, the OEP staff that Archie has, Chris and Eric, and getting all this information out to us. Those guys are doing a bang up job. I've spoken back and forth with Archie. We identified an area for mass distribution that wasn't covered, that was a little far to get to. So, he actually personally brought me some masks so I could get to those folks out there. A lot of them were elderly. So I set up a separate distribution point in the Pointe-aux-Chenes area to service those folks that didn't have access to get anywhere in Lafourche Parish just because of where they're geographically located. So the cooperation and the response and the participation by everybody is greatly appreciated. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wendell. Mr. Perilou.
Yes, I also want to thank Eric Benoit and Chris Boudreau for the stream of information that they continually put out to us. It's greatly appreciated. They keep us in the loop every day. Also, I want to thank my fellow council members for, again, supporting resolution number 47. That goes to the Lafourche Rodeo in Raceland, the arena that's been neglected for probably as long as it's been built. So that's going to be a real enhancement to the facility once we can get that done, and we'll bring in more revenue into the area by bringing the rodeos, I'm sure. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge again the Haynes Corporation. They're the ones that made and distributed and gave us all those masks that we distributed Saturday. So next time you're in a store and you need to hook yourself up, look at Haynes. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Perilou. Yeah, I'll follow it up by also thanking all the fire departments and all the volunteers that have stepped up during this COVID, be it for mass distribution or handing out food, etc. So we certainly thank the regional volunteers. I've always been a voice for volunteers, and so I'm very appreciative at a time like this. I also want to comment, we publicized to allow the public to address the council, asking it be specific to an agenda item. I did have a couple of emails where they completed the form, but it wasn't really in reference to an agenda item. So I'll just mention those two. One of them was by Mr. Craig Lejean from right here in Lockport. And he specifically wants to talk more about the parking of vehicles with trailers at the boat launch. So I just want Mr. Lejean to know that that is in discussions. We are not finished by any means. Parking has been horrendous, but the boat launch, the public boat launches, LaRose, Lockport have just been overflowing. So they're getting high usages right now. But we're not by any means complete with trying to improve the parking there. So that discussion is going to continue. And also, we mentioned one of the other ones was Mr. Ronnie Trish doing business as Bayou Country Sporting Clays. He just sent a message just expressing his desire to reopen his businesses, and it sounds like that's going to be allowed. So I want to make sure I mentioned those two, even though they weren't specific to agenda items. My last comment is I want to thank Archie and the administration. And I do want to point out and let the public and as well as the council members know that he's included me pretty much every step of the way as the chairman of the council. He has been very democratic in terms of making decisions. He hosts these conference calls, which includes most departments within our parish, from the judges to the DA to the sheriff. And if you point of interest, for instance, we never implemented a curfew. It was deemed to probably not assist us. So I do want to thank them and specifically a lot for keeping it very democratic and not being isolationist and making decisions solely without input from everyone. So I think that was very tactical, and I think we've been very well represented as a parish. With that said, Ms. DeLynn, you have any discussion, any final comments before this meeting adjourns?
No, I don't. You said it pretty well there. That was what I was thinking. I think our parish did a great job. I think our administration did an excellent job, and looking forward to getting all this over with.
I agree. And I think the good Lord has blessed us with little rainfall, which has assisted the parish greatly in times like this. Mr. Lorraine, you get the last comments. Mr. Lorraine,
I
Any
think
final-
I think he fell off, Noonie.
okay. Is it possible for anyone to reach out on a side note to see if we can get him back on real quick? Like to wait a few minutes if we can to let him, that he has any follow-ups on the discussion. Because this meeting has gone by far better than I could have ever imagined. So it sounds like we've hit on all the points. Everyone has had the opportunity to speak.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, while we're waiting for Daniel.
Yes, sir.
We opened up the testing site at the shooting range on Monday. It will be closed tomorrow because of the weather that's going to blow through. But I do want to let you guys know that if we do have a day where we get bad rain or bad weather and we have to close the site, we're able to use those testing kits in other manners. So like tomorrow, we're going to split them between a few nursing homes that need some test kits. So we're gonna bring them out to the nursing homes, let them do the self-test, get them back to the range so Quest can pick them up and ship them out. So we are still going to use 125 test kits tomorrow. We did 125 yesterday, 175 today. We turned away 46 cars today, unfortunately, because we hit that kind of cap of how much the lab would take. So we're going to work through the next couple of days and hopefully get some other testing kits from other sites that aren't hitting their magic number. So we're hoping by Thursday or Friday we can get to 200 tests a day at that site. Thank you, sir.
Very, very good. Thank you for the follow-up. Mr. Lorraine, you back with us?
Yeah, I just talked to him. He dropped off. He said he's good.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that comment. So with that said, we have no other discussion. It brings us to item I, adjournment. We have a motion by Mr. Melvin, second by Mr. Perilou for adjournment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And with there being no further business, the Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of April 28, 2020 is hereby adjourned at 18:30, that being 6:30 p.m. by a vote of 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absent. That means Mr. Lorraine, who had fallen off. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. God bless.
God bless Reggie Boggle.